Delta State on Thursday, 14th March 2024, resulting in the loss of a commanding officer, a lieutenant colonel, 2 majors, a captain, and 12 soldiers during a peace mission, highlights a serious threat to national security and stability of the nation. Troops of 181 Amphibious Battalion, while on a peace mission to Okwama community in Bomadi local government area of Delta State, were surrounded by some community youths and killed on Thursday, 14th, 2024. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, they were not only killed, but their bodies were also decapitated. The unfortunate incident occurred when the troops responded to a distress call after the communal crisis between the Okwama and Okoloba communities, both in Delta State. Recognizes that the tragic incident involving the attack on military personnel from the 181 Amphibious Battalion during a peace mission to Okwama community in Delta State underscores the urgent need for justice and accountability without resorting to retribution. Worried that the understaffing of the Nigerian police has made Nigeria's military to take over internal policing duties such as organized crime, oil theft, communal crisis, kidnapping, banditry, and other policing responsibilities. Acknowledges the gravity of the recent attacks on military personnel, recognizing their impact on national security and peace, and emphasizing the need for meticulous engagement with civilian communities and regions to foster mutual understanding. Recalls that the Defense Headquarters reported in August 2023 the loss of 36 military personnel in Niger State, underscoring the persistent challenges faced by our armed forces in carrying out their duties. Notes the importance of caution, robust civilian engagement, and fostering strong military-civilian relations is crucial in understanding the root causes of such incidents and ensuring a peaceful resolution. Underscores that there is a critical requirement for a more streamlined and deliberate collaboration between the armed forces and law enforcement agencies on one side and the Nigerian populace and communities on the other. This collaboration is essential to foster trust, enhance security measures, and promote a sense of shared responsibility in preventing such tragedies in the future. The Senate therefore resolves to observe a minute silence in honor of those military personnel who lost their lives on Thursday, 14th March in Okwama Community, Delta State. Urge the federal government to ensure that those responsible for this heinous crime are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full consequences of their actions through a fair and transparent legal process. Urge the federal government to hasten the recruitment and training of more police personnel to take up policing responsibilities while the Nigerian Army play their primary role in the affairs of the country. Urge the federal government to embark on an enlightenment campaign to sensitize the public on their civic responsibilities as it affects their relationship with security agencies. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Dafinone.
Representing Delta Central. I rise to second the motion raised by distinguished Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua. And in seconding the motion, I wish to observe the following. Firstly, for emphasis, I feel I must seize the opportunity to equally console the military command and the families of the slain soldiers over the loss of the gallant officers and men who have paid the ultimate price in yet another effort to keep our nation peaceful. But equally in the same breath, I ask that we also commiserate with the people of Okwama community over the loss of lives of some of their innocent indigents in the unfortunate incidents. I'm equally concerned and ask that the Senate show some concern that if the matter is not carefully handled, it might also lead to a further breakdown of law and order, occasioned by a major humanitarian crisis within the riverine communities of Delta State, and therefore plead with Mr. President, the Defense Headquarters, and the Chief of Defense Staff to please temper justice with mercy and not punish an entire community of Akwama for the sins of a few unscrupulous elements. I'd like to take the opportunity to present an additional prayer and an amendment to the existing prayer, if I may, Mr. President.
Please go proceed.
The first prayer requires...
No, sorry. Let's discuss it before we go into the prayers.
My name is Osita Izunazo. I represent Imo West. Mr. President, I must commend the movers of this motion, Senator Yaradua and Senator Dafinoni, for bringing this matter up this morning. Mr. President, Nigeria, this is crunch time for our country, and we must always ensure that whatever thing that we're doing, we must be tolerant with one another. A situation where this number of soldiers will be killed in one swap is highly regrettable. Soldiers are meant to protect the life and property of our citizenry. And even the communities themselves are supposed to have tolerance in dealing with such issues. But I must commend the prompt action of Mr. President, Commander-in-Chief, for signing a personal press release, which he signed by himself. That press release he signed by himself, to some large extent, has brought peace and tranquility in that area. And we must also commend the military for not going for a reprisal attack because of what Mr. President did on that fateful day. So I am of the opinion that we must have tolerance. We must tolerate one another. The military cannot, they don't even have they don't have the power to even go and start killing innocent persons. That will not be accepted. So long as that will not be accepted, we will also not accept the situation where people will also attack and kill the military. So this is a very sensitive issue, Mr. President. It is very sensitive, and we must handle it in the manner that it will not escalate. You will recall the incidents of OD in the past. We don't want such occurrence in our system, in our country at this point in time, because the entire country is heated up. Anything that will make it to heat up more, we should not allow that to happen. So, Mr. President, I would like the Senate to look at the motions, the prayers, dispassionately, so that we can apportion blame to who the blame should go to. If there's going to blame to the military, we apportion the blame to them. If there's going to blame to the people of that community, we also apportion blame to them. Mr. President, I so submit.
Yes, distinguished colleagues, there were times when we were growing up in this country, nobody would have thought of touching even a policeman, slapping a policeman, talk less of injuring a policeman. But where we wake up to hear about the killing of soldiers by any community in the course of their normal duties, is very worrisome. And I know if the entire Senate is very concerned, the society itself is concerned, we may just go into our prayers to look at how far we can go in terms of recommendations for necessary actions to assuage all the parties concerned. But let me give a few opportunities for people to proceed solutions and also condemn this dastardly act, because these people are our brothers and sisters, their fathers, their uncles, and they are Nigerians. Distinguished Senator Dixon.
President of the Senate and my dear colleagues, Henry Seriake Dixon, and I represent the people of Bayelsa West, Senatorial District of Bayelsa State. Mr. President, I rise this morning to join other colleagues, and I think everyone in this Senate and across our country in condemning the very sad and dastardly act that was committed against officers and men of our country's military. It's not every day, even in a war situation, it's not every day a country suffers this kind of loss, even in a war, even during war times. And this development is very sad. So I'd like to join on behalf of the good people of my senatorial district. I'd like to join in condemning this terrible tragedy that has befallen our nation's military and our country by extension, and convey our condolences to the families, because at the end of the day, the terrible loss to our country, but it's also a terrible human tragedy. Families have been left without their fathers and husbands and breadwinners and friends. But as at now, we are all aware of what is going on in that community and around that area. Houses burned, a number of civilians also killed. So we also condole with the families of innocent people who have also died in the process. And Mr. President, just this morning as I was getting ready to come here, I also received a series of phone calls from Bayelsa State, where, for whether there is any correlation or not, I don't know, but there is a situation also going on in Bayelsa, in a community called Egbomotoro, in southern Ijaw local government area, where the military, for whatever reason, maybe in connection or not in connection, but at the end of an inquiry we'll know whether there's any link. There are some casualties I hear. Houses have also been destroyed and so on. What I want to say by way of advice is that because we will, after commiserating with the military, with our country and the families, we may have to conduct an inquiry. Because of that, I will advise that we don't portion any blame this way or that way. What I mean is, we are yet to know, this Senate is yet to know, the totality of facts that we are dealing with, and the further escalations that is also that we are also seeing. So I think it's appropriate for this Senate to commiserate with our country, and in particular the armed forces and the families affected, and also, as Senator Dafinone rightly said, also commiserate with the families of innocent locals involved. And then we direct an inquiry, direct the appropriate committees to go into this matter and then give us a full report. Let's know what really happened. Let's know what really happened. So, Mr. President, that's what I can say. There is a situation unfolding as we speak in Bayelsa. I'm sure as time goes by, as the days goes by, we'll also know what is going on. But all in all, it's a terrible development, a very sad day for our country and our country's military. A lieutenant colonel, 2 majors, and others died in one fell swoop. It's a very sad loss. And we commiserate, and it's appropriate for us to commiserate with them and direct an inquiry. Thank you.
Well, on this issue in Camara, because it's not only very sensitive, it's very provocative, and it's horrifying, potential danger, not just for the entire society, but even for the residents of those communities. The military is not just any institution. So if people see things and they don't talk, then they will suffer collateral damage. So I would have said that we probably just set up a committee to liaise with the armed forces to look into this issue so that we'll be better informed. Because if the military should react, nobody can say you cannot react, because every single culprit involved must be brought out to face the full wrath of the law. So in the course of it, there may be collateral damage. But maybe through our inquiries, if we mix with the communities and try to find out what actually went wrong, we may even assist both parties to reach amicable resolution. But nobody, no country will accept the kind of thing that we have just witnessed. And no community will enjoy peace after that kind of dastardly act are being committed. So, like you said, we shouldn't condemn both sides. No, we are condemning the one we have seen. The one we have seen is the killing of almost 16 soldiers in circumstances that are very bestial, totally not common. There is no common sense attached to it. So, to avoid a lot of collateral damage, I would suggest that we discuss towards setting up a committee to immediately swing into action, meet with the communities, liaise with the armed forces, and see what we can do to bring immediate peace and recompense if need be. But this is terrible. If we leave it open without advising both sides, there will be more people will die. Because this is just not acceptable in any sane society in the world. Armed forces with all the training, parents, children of people, uncles, brothers, is unacceptable. I don't think we should discuss much. Deputy Senate President, proceed a solution so that we can go into, if the prayers are not far-reaching enough, then the Senate should craft its own prayers and swing into action with a view to seeing how we can handle this situation.
Further comment, let me commend the mover of this motion for bringing forward this motion. What happened is highly despicable, something inhuman, something that cannot be accepted. By all standards, is bad. I don't know how to explain it, but we'll need to commiserate with the Nigerian Armed Forces and indeed the entire Nigerians. Condole the immediate families, and of course, the Nigerian military for what happened. These were men that were trained by the Nigerian government, money spent on them to defend the territorial integrity of this country, to keep us safe as a nation. Now they were killed for no reason, not at the time of conflict, not at the war front, and they were just murdered in the worst fashion that you can think about. It should be condemned. What happened is inhuman, and no stone should be left unturned in trying to find out these culprits, those who are responsible, and they must face justice. They must face justice, and this should never happen again in this country, where, you see, the military is doing their best. They are doing their best, trying to deal with the kidnappers, trying to deal with bandits and so on and so forth, trying to make us safe, keep us safe. Now some people decided to go and murder these people. So I think it's something that we should all condemn, and we should try to provide solutions. And I feel glad that the Senate President spoke the way he did to clearly, let the world know that what happened is not proper, it's not good. And I think others should also join him. More time should be given. I know several senators want to speak on this. More time should be given for people to speak, to condemn what happened. And until we go to the prayer, when we go to the prayers, we should, all of us, couch, prayers that will assuage the feelings of the families of those that were murdered, and indeed the Nigerian armed forces. We need to be by their side at this moment of grief, and we should stand for them. We should normally, we are always with them, but particularly in this period where soldiers that were on duty were murdered for no reason. Mr. President, let's go. I think if anybody wants to speak, maybe they should, we should speak. If there's a chance, all of us should speak to condemn what happened. Mr. President, submit.
Mr. President, let me commend the mover of this motion, my colleague, Senator Abdulaziz Musa Yaradua, and of course join our colleagues who spoke earlier. This is a great loss to our country, Mr. President. And what our military needs from us citizens is support at all times. They are spread everywhere in Nigeria, and all they try to do is to keep us safe, to keep Nigeria intact, and they deserve our support. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, what happened in Delta was not an accident. It was a designed and well-orchestrated effort to kill our military men. And it was done in a very barbaric way, very bestial. Mr. President, those who did that deserve to be condemned. I agree that we need to set up a committee to help with the investigation, working with our military authorities. But I believe that this Senate, and indeed the National Assembly, should also be looking at the direction of reducing our military from conducting police actions and activities. How do you do that? I believe we must insist on getting more and more policemen to be recruited. Just like we also need more military to be recruited. Because I believe that some of the issues the military are called to attend to are issues that can be handled by police. So with this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I would also recommend that this Senate, when it sets up the committee to investigate, let the result of the investigation leaves no one in doubt what we are supposed to give as a legislature. How do we work with the executive arm of government to ensure that within a year or two, that the fortunes of our military and indeed the police are changed in terms and areas of recruitment, training, retraining, and their welfare. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished Senator. Verifying an unfortunate incident, and every right-thinking mind must condemn it, and must also mourn the loss of our personnel who were involved in trying to keep, not just keep peace, but ensure that the resources of the country are not stolen, because that is Niger Delta. whatever it is, you are right, we must find a way to reduce the involvement of the military in internal security so that police can do their work. But this has happened. While we condemn it, we must, as a Senate, set up a committee to do proper investigation and then of course, come up with recommendations, particularly to ensure that the culprits are brought to book, and then we find a way to console the families and then also console the leadership of the armed forces of the country. Let's look at the prayers and see if we can take actions together. Distinguished Senator Dafinode, are your prayers different from this? Or the same?
No, Mr. President. I have some...
Okay, so in the course of the prayers, I'll call you. You can make the amendment you want to make. You understand? The prayer 1, observe a minute silence in honor of those military personnel who lost their lives on Thursday, 14th March in Okwama community in Delta State. Any amendment to this prayer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Innocent civilians in Okwama who also lost their lives in this process. If we are observing a minute's silence for the soldiers that were brutally murdered in this fracas, I believe also the innocent civilians in Okwama should also be recognized in a similar way. I emphasize the innocent civilians, sir. So my amendment, sir, would be that we observe a minute's silence also for those innocent civilians. Thank you, Mr. President.
They are talking about are not yet known to the Senate. I'm not saying that no innocent civilian lost his life, but I'm saying that what we know are the death of our gallant soldiers were murdered in a very horrific manner. So I'll take your amendment to say that observe a minute's silence in honor of those military personnel who were murdered in a horrific manner on Thursday, the 14th day of March, in Okwama community of Delta State. Any seconder to that? Yes, Distinguished Senator Nedwoko. Yeah, is that we observe a minute's silence in honor of the military personnel who were dastardly murdered in a gruesome manner on Thursday, 14 March 2024 in Okwama community of Delta State. Those in support of this prayer that we observe a minute's silence in honor of our military personnel who were murdered in very horrific circumstances in Okwama community, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 2, urge the federal government to ensure that those responsible for this heinous crime are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full wrath of the law through a fair and transparent legal process. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3, urge the federal government to hasten the recruitment and training of more police personnel to take up the job of policing responsibilities while the Nigerian Army plays its primary role in the affairs of the country. Those in support of this prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, urge the federal government to embark on an enlightenment campaign to sensitize the public on their civic responsibilities as it affects their relationship with security agencies. Those in support of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, additional prayer, Senator Dafinone.
Thank
How would they be displaced when they were the ones who killed? No, I don't think, you see, I don't want you to conclude. I don't believe that these people are from Niger Delta, those who did the killings, because we respect men and women in uniform. So that's why I'm saying that your additional prayer should actually be to carry out the thorough investigation to know whether these were mercenaries from outside Niger Delta who came in to commit this crime, because I don't think these people are Niger Deltans. We are not at war, even in a period of war, to lose such number of personnel. No community will go to the extent of doing this kind of thing. I don't think they are from Niger Delta. So I think the first point should be that we should first establish the culprits who committed this crime. We must take it seriously. Supposing they are not from Niger Delta, supposing they are not even Nigerians, and we now come and talk about giving relief materials to people should pay for the consequences of their crimes. I would not support relief material. Senator Dixon, please, but not relief material.
Yes, Mr. With my colleague and brother, Senator Dafinone, that for now, this Senate, as an institution of the federal government, Federal Republic of Nigeria, I think there should be no moral equivalency at this point. We recognize the reality that the hoodlums did this, which we all condemn, but there are also innocent people who are affected. Like I said, even the communities in Bayelsa are now affected. But I think for now, our response as a national institution should be to do what we have done. Condemn the dastardly murder of our troops in cold blood, then call for an inquiry. I believe that at the end of the inquiry, when we should have at that time identified the circumstances and the number, I mean those who suffered collateral damage and so on, then I think at that point we may have to jointly do something. But for now, the stand of this Senate as a national institution is to do what we have done. Condemn it in clear terms, call for investigation to bring whoever did it to account, and then work to establish the true state of facts, upon which we can now bring further motions at the right time. Thank you, Mr. President.
I still want to commend you for the attention you've given to this motion, and also commend his suggestion of the matter. And to add to what he said, I think the next thing we need to add is that the authorities, the appropriate authorities, should, as a matter of urgency, compensate the families of the deceased soldiers, in addition to what he said.
Any seconder? What the distinguished Senate President has added an additional prayer. The additional prayer is that the Senate hereby recommends that the military authorities, in collaboration with the federal government, should immediately compensate the families of the deceased soldiers while investigation is ongoing to establish the remote and immediate causes of the incidents and possibly apprehend the culprits. Those in support of the prayer are seconded by Senator Toniwe, that the families should be compensated immediately. Say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, Senator Plank.
Yeah. The President, that these fallen heroes should be immortalized. Sir.
That will be after the investigation. Let's know what happened. Provide as many armored vehicles as possible to assist the security agencies in the pursuit of criminals. Those in support of the additional prayer say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The nays have it. Distinguished Senator. Distinguished Senator. Let me thank distinguished Senator Yaradua. Let me thank distinguished Senator Yaradua and distinguished Senator Dafinone for bringing this to the fore, and thank all my colleagues for their contributions. It's a very sad development. I think the Senate awaits the outcome of the investigations. So I'll urge the committees on defense, committee on army, committee on navy, and the committee on Air Force combined to liaise with the military to find out, to obtain for first hand for us the outcome of the investigation on in respect of these dastardly killings. As we are very concerned, we know that the investigation is already ongoing by the military. There is no amount of investigation we can do that will be better than what they are already doing. By the time the whole thing is established, we will know whether the people who were killed as a result of community conflict or as a result of external forces. Whatever we have condemned, and we are not happy. No Nigerian is happy over this incident. So, my dear colleagues, can we rise to observe a minute silence in honor of those who were murdered? May the souls of our gallant soldiers who were murdered in very horrific circumstances in cold blood in Okuama community of Delta State in the course of carrying out their civic responsibilities rest in perfect peace.